Good morning, students. So today you're at the point, if you've been following along with us and you are ready for it, you're going to start to write the ending of your story. Now, endings have falling action where things, um, after the turning point, after the character makes the big discovery, the aha moment, they are either fixing things, they're making amends with friends, they're getting the girl, they're winning the game, they're doing the things that they need to do, and then everything has to resolve. And an ending is satisfying when it hits certain elements. So one of the things I want to avoid is I want to avoid the very abrupt ending. When we're little kids, we had, stories where, the character does one thing and then it happens and then this happens and then we go the end and we just end it and it's not really finished and nothing is resolved. So you've got a conflict that is driving your story. And remember, a conflict is where a character wants something and something gets in the way of that. And at the end of the story, you need to resolve that conflict in some way. It doesn't have to be a happy, happy, nice, nice resolution. The bad guy could get away. The football game could be lost, or the football game can be won. The bad guy can go to jail, or the kid can make the team. You get to decide that because it's your story. You just have to keep in mind that it needs to be realistic. The second thing you want to make sure that you're not doing, you want to make sure that you're not providing a magic solution. If your character is in foster care and then all of a sudden they may meet like the absolute perfect family and there's no problems and they get adopted and they live happily ever after, that's not realistic. In foster care, there's a lot of struggle. There's a lot that goes into that. And I know personally because my brother has several foster children. He's adopted several foster children. It's not a smooth road. Good friends of my husband had a foster sister and a baby, a 6-year-old sister and a baby. And the 6-year-old sister, it was a rough road because of the trauma. So, like, I'm not saying that the if your story, your character has no family and then gets adopted, I'm not saying that can't happen. It can. Just understand that you have to try to paint a realistic picture. Plus, we really want to focus in on a small moment. Remember, in the story Sarah the Brave, everything in the story took place from the morning and just until they got to school. So maybe an hour or two. You really don't want to have this happening over months and months of time. It's too much to write. Really zero in on one small moment. Remember, the watermelon and then the seed, the small moment of the seed. And that's probably where students struggle the most is they're trying to make their story too big when they really need to just zero in on one small moment, one small conflict that resolves. So just make sure that your solution is not magical. If you have a kid who's struggling with money, they're not going to magically win the lottery and then at the end of the story they're living in a big gigantic house and everything is perfect. You can't take someone who's living on the streets and then they magically get a job making $200,000 and everything is perfect. Maybe they get a job making a little bit and at the end of the story we see the parent makes a little bit of money and then they get their own apartment and then they build up, if it's something like that. If the character's trying to lose weight, in 2 weeks the character's not magically dropping 30 pounds. That doesn't happen in real life. Maybe the character loses a little bit, gets on the team, and then it's not till next season, or they think forward like, okay, next season I got this. I didn't make it this season, but I got this and I know what I need to do now. So try not to make that magic bullet solution. So, a couple of the things that your ending should do. Your ending should show what the story is really about. Is it really about the kid losing weight, or is it about the kid sticking with something? Is it really about the having tons of money, or is it about the person getting their life back on track and making good decisions? Is it really about um, getting it being accepted with their friends, or is it about being accepting of oneself and not changing oneself for friends? So just make sure that it shows what your story is really about. Make sure the ending fits the rest of your plot, and that goes back to no magic bullet endings. Like, if your character is struggling on the streets, then their first step would be to get a job. If your character is struggling to come out, then to their parents, maybe they're wrestling with gender identity or some sort of identity and they're struggling. Maybe that the character comes out, maybe it's not magically happily wonderful. Maybe it is. That could happen. I mean, if my daughter ever brought anything like that to me, I would be 100% accepting of that. um, but maybe there's a little resistance. Maybe there's some reality there. There's some resistance. um, Lastly, tie up loose ends. If you have some conflicts, if you have some things that are happening, that you want to make sure that you're tying up loose ends. You want to make sure that there's no conflict, that at the end of the story, the reader of your story doesn't go, well, wait, what about that one thing? And what about that? And what happened to this? Um, and I'll be honest, in Sarah the Brave, we have to wonder what happened to the dog. Like, he was chasing them. Did he stop? Did he get tired? Was he on a chain? Did he have an invisible fence? I might want to know that. How come the dog wasn't able to run down? I might want to know at the end. Although Sarah seemed very satisfied with herself at the end, and I do believe that that was more about herself accepting her own maturity. I do kind of want to know, like, was her mom proud of her? Did she get the resolution with her mom that she wanted? So if I were to suggest an edit or a revision, I might give the author the feedback of, hey, tell us at the end, did mom approve? Was she proud? Did mom set aside more time for her? I might want to know those things because those felt a little unfinished to me. Some strategies for making those happen. Oopsie, excuse me. Memories of the main event. So the character reflects back and has memories of the event, maybe at a later time. Maybe they're sitting at a coffee shop, or they're sitting at the end of the day reflecting, or it's the end of the school year, they're reflecting. It's the end of the football season, they're reflecting. They're reflecting, they're about to graduate high school, and they're reflecting back to the time where they shared something super scary about themselves. Um, Maybe a character makes a decision. Sarah makes the decision to stick with her sister, grab her hand, and make a run for it. She's not going to let go, even though she was terrified in that moment. You could share the main character's feelings, and that's very similar to the memories of the event, but maybe the main character has an internal dialogue, either through the narrator or if it's first person, and the character reflects on the feelings that they had about the event. Like, oh my gosh, I was so scared, and I didn't even realize that if I had shared with my best friend sooner, I might have avoided this whole problem. I was so scared, and if I had shared with a counselor sooner, or with mom sooner, or dad sooner, I might have avoided this problem. And lastly, you could make your character, another strategy is to make your character do something big or small, take a stand where the reader sees the character making a stand at the end, and we feel like, yes, they did it. I'm so glad that character did that. I'm so glad that character didn't just keep cowering in the end. Maybe they stood up to the bully. Maybe they stood up to that better player on the basketball team or the football team. Maybe they stepped up and said, yes, this is who I am, in front of their classmates or in front of teachers that have been mean to them or bullying them or not accepting of them, or to family members, depending on what's going on. Make the character do something big or small. Now, this slide is available in Schoology. If you need to reference it, it's called Satisfying Endings. I also put it into your journal. I highlighted and put this into your journal as well. So if you need to reference this, if you're like, oh, what's that one strategy? I think I can make that work. You can look in either one of these places to be reminded of this video. I will also link the video so it will not be stuck in this Nearpod. You can then rewatch this if you would like to. And I'm not 100% super fluid with Nearpod, but I'm going to try to leave the Nearpod open so you can access it again. But if not, I will for sure make sure that this video is available again. All right, folks, happy writing. If you're not ready to write this part, you haven't done part 1 or part 2, scene 1 or scene 2, do that first. 100% do that first. And then get to scene 3 when it's time. Happy writing, guys.